from it. And but this will be catered more towards those who will adapt or who will be teaching. And so there may be slight difference in the information you will receive. So the first thing I will do is to show you the how it's integrated to our secondary course book called Full Blast, and tell you more about the AI, artificial intelligence based online learning, and how coming together with the English, then really how does this work? Then I'll be going into the demonstration, showing you the logic and the process of what your student will see, and then go to a live trial account for us to test it out together. So when we do the live trial account, I'm gonna need your help here. And the last part is that I'm going to show you the dashboard, student dashboard, teacher dashboard, and school administrator, some of the functions and authorities of each of these users. So, all right. So we're integrating Full Blast curriculum to this online learning, AI-based learning program. So far, we have integrated up to B1, level B1 of Full Blast. So that's 4 level, A1.1, A1.2, A2, and B1. We'll add the rest of the level, B1 plus B2, and even higher levels, hopefully later this year or by beginning of early next year. Now we have, by module, we have the first 4 modules ready, integrated. So if you're in module 5 or you will be going on to module 5 of any of these levels, we still advise or recommend you to start, because there are some areas that your student may struggle. They can review it at a faster pace. We will receive the rest of the modules, be integrated by the end of May. And so I think we have a couple of months to go through and go at a faster pace. Now, the progress of each module that we have scheduled is that each module takes 4 weeks to finish, right? And so that's how it's scheduled, 4 weeks. And by level, there are 8 modules in a level, so it will take 8 months to finish a level, ideally, but that is quite flexible. So communicate with us about this and your schedule. As for the learning time, we call it sessions, right? So each session student logs in. We have designed it. We have set it to 20 minutes per session, and we want our student, the mandatory session per week is 4. That's the minimum, but student can log in and do as many times as they want. In fact, anyway, that will be another addition. And so in a month, there are a total of 16 sessions. And within the 16 sessions toward the end, a student will receive a quiz that they don't even realize it's a quiz. And so that wraps up a month. The mandatory session, like I said, is 80 minutes, 4 sessions a week, and a month is 320 minutes, so 16 sessions, right? I mentioned earlier, that's the minimum, and that is the mandatory number, but student may log in as many times as they want, and it doesn't affect or cost more or anything. They'll have more practice and you have more data about the student as far as what's their strength and what their weaknesses are. Okay. So now let's go into the online learning. What is that all about? The online learning has become a thing for almost a decade or two. The main idea is to integrate the technology and digital media with the traditional classroom setting, right? And so you also have, you allow students to have this flexibility to study whenever, wherever they are. And they can customize their learning pace and experience, because some students may take longer to finish, but in a class time, you're kind of in a speed to finish a lesson, but online, students have that flexibility. And so that allows students to customize it, their learning experience. But when we look at our existing platform, does it really give students the flexibility and customize their learning experience? So let's take a look at the existing online platforms that we currently here in the Korean market that are available. So basically, almost every existing online learning platform has a pre-arranged questions that are set. For example, here's a demonstration one I've made. There's question 1, 2, 3, and you either get correct or wrong answers, correct or incorrect. And so it's teacher's responsibility to take a look at the result and analyze the data and decide what is that your student really struggles with, right? And then they eventually have to teach the lesson, a detailed lesson. Another type of online learning platform, it's kind of like the IBT testing system, where it tracks the incorrect and correct answers, and then it leads to another question. But again, that's already set, pre-arranged, right? Then there's development of LMS, Learning Management System, or 학생 관리 system. It's whatever the existing online learning had with the correct, incorrect, they're able to produce these fancy data. They say that it analyzed students' activity, but still at the end, it was teachers' responsibility to teach. And so you're unable to identify, or the system itself can't identify what is it that they really struggle with. So, and because you can't identify that, and teachers, you don't have the luxury to hold up a class and address each weaknesses of the student, because again, you have to go through. And so what you end up doing, despite having this online learning system, you give worksheet after worksheet, and you correct worksheet after worksheet, or do test after test. So that really became a very inefficient and insufficient way to study for your student. And so this is where Belt English meets MagniLearn. Our partner uses the latest artificial intelligence technology, and with this, they're able to customize the learning experience for each individual student. Again, not a preset number of questions, but each individual has been customized. How is this possible? So the online platform, right, it detects areas of weaknesses, meaning it doesn't identify it, meaning it finds trends of your students. What is it that they struggle with, and what is it that they do well, right? And then it generates next exercise based on how student has answered, meaning what is it that they got correct and what is it they got wrong. So it's not pre-arranged set of questions, but it is created following, right? So no prearranged questions are 1 through 50, 1 through 100 that they need to go through. And no two lessons are ever alike, because each student may or may not get the same answers wrong or correct. And so then this becomes a customized for each individual users, right? So how is this possible? Here's an example. Let's say here's a preset of questions, number 1 and 2, right? And so the first one is a translation one. Let's say this is the correct answer. Our science teacher is the one who watches over us during the break. But here, let's say a student puts which. So according to the existing platform, this is completely wrong. So student would get 0 point, right? It's one or wrong. So if student gets number 2 correct, you have 50%, but if student gets number 2 wrong, then it's a 0%. But if you have a human teacher correcting, human teacher will give the science teachers correct, by the way, science teacher. And so then you get this more detailed range of scoring 25% and 75%. But still, you can't know whether the system can't tell you that student is struggling with the concept of pronouns, which, and who. But here in the MagnaLearn, our new AI-based online learning platform, if student gets both questions correct, they will be led to another question, completely new. So they'll move on to the next question. However, if they get it wrong, what system will do is it will correct the student. Hey, this is the correct answer. Let's try that one more time. And so student here, as you can see, they're asked to retype in the word who. And they're led to another question, completely different from the first one right here. It's completely different, right? So it's completely different new question to which student practice that specific target language of who. And so this is what we mean by it's customized, it's generated instantaneously based on how student responses. So it's 100% personalized lesson. And so let's look at some of the concept or approach that is used in our MagnaLearn new AI-based learning system. And so lesson structure isn't before it will be predefined. Now it's generated real time, meaning we tell the system, these are the things they need to learn, vocabulary as well as grammar. And this is the ability, communication objectives we want. And so based on that and how students will respond, it will correct. It will go at that speed. But we have given certain range of time. So each module, 1 month, right? And the teaching method used here online is what's called a granular base form. Instead of getting the entire sentence correct or wrong, here, each sentence, each word, grammar rules have been broken into smaller pieces. And so students the systems are able to identify each specific. Is it the spelling? Is it the concept of plurals? Or is it the concept of correct usage of the pronouns, right? They're able to identify it more specifically. Now, it isn't just 100% correct or wrong, but again, because it's broken into each smaller part, the explanation of each mistakes are able to be given, right? This is supposed to be plurals. When you have more than one thing, you have to add S's, right? And curriculum isn't fixed, it's adaptable. We are able to modify the speed of it. So again, communicate with us. If you want to finish, if you can't finish it within 4 weeks, that can be extended to whatever time you need. So then one of the questions you may be having is, how does the system, this computer thing, detect the strengths or weaknesses of the learner, of the student? Well, here's an example. If you look at the second sentence right here, right, it's fill in the blank with missing words. And so there are green trees in this park. There are or there is. So student has to fill in the blank. Notice it's 1 blank versus 2, but the answer is there is, but student may put there are. So as you can see here, the blue underlines indicate what student got correct, and the orange underlines are what student got wrong. Here, right, there's a feedback, very specific feedback to what student were struggling with. Right? And so they're given that specific feedback on what is the error. And then you can also see down below what they got correct, right? So they got the concept of there is, they just got the non-countable singular and the plural wrong. They were struggling with that concept. So it isn't just about the spelling, but the grammar rules as well. So this is how it identifies the strengths and weaknesses. Earlier I mentioned about the granular base. This is what it means. It's broken into smaller pieces. Now, And then based on how student answers each question, the system finds a pattern, right? For example, student has done about 94 exercises that require student to use the present progressive. Of the 94, they're able to use about 56% of the time accurately. Not how many correct or wrong, but accuracy rate is how well are they able to utilize this. And then you're given students example of the answer, student's answer. And then in teacher's dashboard, this is the message you'll see, analyzing students' responses. Hey, this student is struggling with present progressive. They're unable to use the present progressive form for actions that are occurring now. They're unable to use that correctly. And so this is how it finds a trend and send you that analyzed message. Next thing I mentioned, another thing I mentioned about our AI-based program is that no questions are alike, meaning no preset questions. And so the question you may be having is, how then does it create exercise, right? A question. So here's an example. This is a word sentence order, right? And depend on how student answers, again, is able to analyze the data and identify the weakness. Here, for this example, he's wearing a shirt blue. We know that it should be blue shirt. So what the system say of the many options possibility, say that the student is struggling with using an adjective after a noun instead of before it. And so then what it will do, based on how student has done previously and what they need to do and how they have responded just now, they will create exercise like, I went on a successful trip last weekend, right? To check, are they able to utilize correctly? And so it will continue to feed the errors that students are having, but with completely new sentence, right? And so having having student do each sessions, the system itself will learn the patterns of the student and it'll analyze it for you. And within the class setting, they're able to give you this kind of feedback of grammar insight of the class. And so looking at the entire class, the specific class does very well, quite well with the present simple, the correct usage, right? They have about 85 accuracy rate, but on the gerunds, right, they're quite low, they're struggling. It might be that because they've just learned it, or that the class as a whole, they're unable to utilize this target language correctly. And so then, you know, that's where you need to put more focus. Another insight the system is able to do is to take the vocabulary and how successful they are in using the vocabulary. In the vocabulary assessment, it measures students' proficiency in this 4 area: writing it, meaning spelling it, reading it, pronouncing it, and listening to it, right? And so while using these words, the students, this is how often they have these errors made. And so with the number of their mistakes, how often they get correct, and so you get analysis about this, a matrix system. And it will also be able to give you the words that students are struggling with, right? And so the insight you'll see in the teacher's dashboard is something like this, right? So the student with high proficiency of certain words like decrease, glasses, pleasant, better, student doesn't have any issues with that. So the ones that are struggling with is the low blue color, is the low proficiency right here. The country, manager, tour, explanation, confident, allow, right? So those are the words that you want maybe to test on and go further develop or expand on those vocabulary words. Now, how student will perform on their online learning platform, they get their own insight, and for the teachers as well as student. The page you see just now is what you'll see in the teacher's insight as well as director's insight. And students, they themselves also get an analyzed data. And so this is something that they will see. How diligent are they in doing their online learning, and how accurate are they? How many knowledge points that they have gained, what place they are in the class number of students in compared to their classmates. Okay, and so let me actually, this will make much better sense when you see in demonstration. So as I do this demonstration, something you'll see is this button right here below. I'm using a demo account so that are specifically made for directors when they're consulting the parents. And so you'll be shown this correct answer or wrong answer. So the answer, the system or a pattern has been set, right, to show you the logic of this. But when student actually does their count, they will not be seeing this. Okay, so just to know that. So here's the first question student may see, or you will see in the demo count. And so depending on how student answers, if they enter the correct answer, what they'll see is the feedback saying you got these things correct, you practiced accurately. They get a feedback on what they practiced accurately, and they're led to the next question like this. But if student, right, answers it correctly, they move on. But if student answers incorrectly, right, if they answer it wrong, depending on what student has entered, it will then give a feedback, or they will receive a little words of encouragement saying, hey, don't worry, you learn from our mistake. And then they get a feedback on exactly what is wrong, right? This is something you will do as a teacher in class, right? Hey, friends, who is for people, which is for things and animals. And so then the system will give another exact same question, but have student correct that very specific mistake. And they get a feedback saying, hey, you got this correct. And then they're led to another question where student will practice the correct use of who, as you can see here. Then, let's say after a few sessions, the system, the AI, the smart machine, finds certain patterns or trends that students are repeating. So what it will do is it will give a special lesson when they see a certain pattern and when they need to learn a new target language. So what they'll see is this message explaining the new target language or the target language they need to practice. Then they're given this very simple but very specific lesson questions. If they answer it correctly, they get a Korean translation of that sentences and a little feedback on what they practiced accurately. But if student makes mistakes in this specialized lesson, whether intentionally or unintentionally, they get a feedback saying what was wrong. And they have to click on each question mark for a detailed explanation. And they get another explanation on the lesson. A lesson is taught on that specific target language. Then they get a whole new set of exercise to practice that specific target language. Right? Now, I must tell you, I don't know how often these special lessons will appear, but what I do know about this AI system is that it will repeat until students get it. But it won't, we don't want to discourage the student. If you keep seeing these lessons over and over again for 5-10 times, that will be the 20 minutes. And student probably won't want to go online again, right? So what the system will do is it will take a break after a few times, right? But it will remember that students struggle with this. And so it will appear in a different exercise question type at another time till student practices or uses this accurately, right? So it will repeat the same grammar in new exercise till student gets it. So it's persistent. All right, now let me actually show you a live trial account and tell you more about this. So here, you first want to, I'm opening Google Chrome. Wow, I can't see. Let's see. You go to the magnilearn.com and login page. We have given you login demo account as well as login page. And so if you don't have that information and you like it, please contact our office for information and some live trial account that you like to see. So here it is. This is the trial account for A2 level. So you click on this lesson, but let's see a little bit of what students did. Not too much because I haven't logged in much. Okay, let's click here, start the lesson. You get a little video of explaining the situation. It says there's a little opening message. Click OK. Okay, so here is fill in the blank. Notice it's having me fill in. It has given me 2 cues. I something more money than my sister does. Any help, teachers? Earn is the answer, right? I earn more money than my sister does. And so let's say I put S here.
I earn more money than my sister does.
Okay, so it tells me what I got wrong. Joel got I, right? If it's first person, we don't put S's. We put the original form, earn. Okay, and then what it do?
I earn more money than my sister does.
Right? Then
I earn more money than my sister does.
right. I got these correct. So then I move on to next. It tells me that I have these gains and outputs here. And then now it's a listening question.
I want to earn more money, so I am going to start a new job.
I hope you see the repetition here. I want to earn more money. So it's having me correct that specific mistake, but in an entirely new setting and in different skill. So here, if I click on the snail, it's the same audio, but played more slowly so that I can hear better and type in.
I want to earn more money, so I am going to start a new job.
Okay, so click enter. All right.
I want to earn more money, so I am going to start a new job.
It's the spelling. It should be capital, right? And so it tells me, but I got the rest correct, right? So then move on. How? Okay, then again, it has me correct my mistake.
I want to earn more money, so I am going to start a new job.
Let's see what we'll have. Now it's the translation method. My parents bought a van because we couldn't all fit into a. Teachers, help me here. Okay, my parents bought a van because we couldn't all fit into a regular car. 일반차, right? Right here, the word says 일반. Let's see.
My parents bought a van because we couldn't all fit into a regular car.
Okay, so this is A2 level. Relatively, I think quite easy. And here's a speaking activity one. Let's see, you can first hear it.
I earn more money than my sister does.
Okay, notice it was that sentence right before. Then let's record. I earn more, oops, what? I earn more money than my sister does. Okay, then it'll listen to my record. I earn, oh gosh, I don't want to listen. I earn more money than my sister does. Okay, your student will definitely do that, right? So let's click and enter. It'll tell me. Okay, that was sufficient for for A2 level. And then I go into next. So these are, you see many different types of activities, exercise type. Now let me show you one for B1 level. The expectation is quite different. Okay, so you can also change, anyway, let's start the lesson. Skip the video. Okay, so, all right, ooh, so this was something I got wrong last time when I was demonstrating, and so it has repeated here this time. My parents had a wonderful marriage, right? They really love each other.
My parents had a wonderful marriage. They really loved each
It
other.
always repeats back. It repeats back either in American or British and others sometimes. Then let's translate. 우리 할머니는 전통적으로 지방차는 것을 좋아합니다. My grandmother likes to treat diseases with traditional medicines. Should I put traditionally? Okay, let's move on to this.
My grandmother likes to treat diseases with
So if your
traditional
students
medicines.
are active and they're learning, they're going through well, they will progress. It won't repeat the things that they need to learn. And so here I'm supposed to put the correct word. So these words which they need to fill out will be something that they are to learn from the course book. But text itself is different. They're just given this image hint with maybe first alphabet Q, right? The family saves money in order to celebrate special occasions.
The family saves money in order to celebrate special occasions.
I meant to misspell that, but I forgot. Okay, let's try the next one wrong. Okay, 그는 방금 it's a translation. He just bought and if you have enormously TV. No, that sounds weird. Enormous.
He just bought an enormous TV.
Okay, so here it says, oh, he got something correct, some part correct. So as you can see, then
He just bought an enormous TV.
Right?
He just bought an enormous TV.
So next question, what will it lead me? Will they have me repeat enormous? Oh, let's listen.
My sister has an enormous car.
I hope you see it right away. Instead of moving on to next, it repeats in a different skill. My sister has an enormous car. To make sure that I'm able to hear it, spell it, write it.
My sister has an enormous car.
And then it tells me I got all these things as well as adjectives, possessive, subject, verb to add, subject, verb, object, word, order. Sister has something, right? So again, this is what I mean by granular base instead of sentence base. I think we've seen enough of the demo. Oh, let's just do the speaking activity before I log out. So my sister has an enormous car. My sister has an enormous car. My sister has an enormous car. Oh my. Oh, I don't know how that got skipped. I hope you won't have that problem. But right now, my laptop itself is a bit overloaded with my PPT and Chrome and Zoom happening. But I know that the previous speaking exercise, it would have highlighted the sister part because of my pronunciation. And so the expectation of B level gets higher. And so you'll see even in the speaking, the errors, the pronunciation that I would have gotten wrong there. Okay, so let me go back to the PPT and show you what is the expectation from this with this live this new AI learning online based program. Okay, so we believe that this will be an answer to our student for their school education, because the Full Blast itself, because it uses the spiral syllabus approach, and we recycle the target language again and again, so student is they're able to use the target language accurately. What this spiral syllabus and recycling do for the kids is that it helps them build long-term memory. Let me kind of bring your attention here. Long-term memory is the key to 수행평가 and 내신, right? You can't have students memorize every topic that they will see in 수행평가, their midterm assessment. You can't memorize and prepare for every student. What you want your student is to do when they speak, when they write, they are doing it instantaneously in accuracy. They're able to write the sentence correctly, not I have and he have, but I have, but my brother has, right? That thing, those basic target languages should be able to practice, come up naturally for the student. And so to build that, here within Full Blast, we repeat the same concept again, but in different situation. Here in the first, that was shown, students are practicing the pronouns in A1.2. In A2 there, in this bottom here, this is in A1.2. Here they're practicing again the same target language or similar, but it's actually expanded. This is in A2 module 2. But we don't forget, but they appear again within the Full Blast course book. This is A2 module 4. This is what we mean by the spiral syllabus and recycling. Full Blast itself has been designed to help our student to practice over and over again, which aligns with our AI. The AI system aligns with this concept of ours. And so this new second line online will also repeat. It has the spiral syllabus, and it has various exercise type to practice all 4 skills, right? And so it then identifies the users, your students' weakness, the things that your students struggle with, and it'll give you a quiz to, again, constantly check what is it that they struggle with, and how to improve. And so they build this basic stamina to use the English accurately, just like the natives. And because they're constantly practicing these skills in a various exercise type, they won't struggle with the actual 내신 and 수행평가 questions. These are some question types from the National SAT 내신. Here, the awkward sentence. When they read it, they're able to find it because they can identify right away. Something doesn't sound right. Here, find the correct usage. So they read it, they're able to identify this sounds wrong, this sounds wrong. Now this is accurate and why. Here's another one, fill in the blank. I think you've seen much of that happening in our new AI-based learning program. Ooh, again, find the error within the mistake. So easy. Correct translation. I think you've seen that enough translation activity. Here's the response writing activity. So you have to, after reading this, how would you respond to that? What would be the correct sentence to go in there, right? All these exercises, something you do in our Full Blast as well as our new AI-based program. So our basic idea of Build English is to help our students build correct communication skill, right? And when they have that correct accuracy rate, they're able to apply it in any test that they come across. Now, next part, wow, it's already 15. Now, I'm going to go more into the dashboard. So I'm going to first show you the student dashboard, what they will be seeing when they go to log into their website, and then teacher's website dashboard and a school administrator or director's website. So if you're familiar with our ELT skills, the dashboard is like the LMS. Okay, it will be another term, new term for LMS. Oh, I've shown you this earlier. It's full blast with the 4 levels. So here's a student dashboard that you'll see. They'll access many different information here. Let's take a look at each individual one. This shows their weekly required time, how well a person, how consistent they are in their studies. So I mentioned earlier, the minimum is 80 minutes. And it shows the dates right here. Right now there's just one date because of this example page. But when you actually log into it, it'll show the different week. So each week, how well, how often have they studied, right? Here is a personal selection. They can select their own avatars. We don't have too many, so it's either male, female, or if you choose to be neither, there's that third option. And so I think you've seen through my live demonstration, each thing that they get correct, practice accurately, they're given this knowledge points. And so depending on how many knowledge points they accumulate, it places how well they know of the target language. Now, well, actually, I won't go into that, but there's actually quite a bit of logic. If they get it correct in the first time, they receive higher knowledge points. If they get it correct after the correction, that's a little less. So then they will appear again till they fulfill that certain measurement. Okay, here it shows their progress of their knowledge point. So the more they study, the more progress they'll see, right? In the beginning, they started with light blue, meaning low proficiency rate. They don't know and the dark blue is high proficiency rate. So certain things that they have learned, the target language, after a certain time, they're able to, it turns from low proficiency to high proficiency. And so you see that ratio here, right? They learn more stuff. And the things that they have learned, if you look at it, they have turned into about medium proficiency to high proficiency. And so that is the progress report. That is the progress we want from our student. Right? Now, in the student dashboard, you see 2 types of leaderboard. It's an indirect way to encourage our student and to study harder and practice much. And so the first one is a class leader with points. So how many knowledge points they have, right? So it ranks the student anonymously from their classmates where they are in the class. And this time is how often or how the time period in which they have studied. And so where they are in this diligence-wise. Next is, I mentioned earlier, they will do a monthly quiz. And so here it shows the result of the quiz. So before the quiz, they had all these errors and certain specific errors. After the quiz, during the quiz, it readdresses the things that they got it wrong. So the number of quiz exercises will be different for each student. It won't be same. But what you will see is how much they have improved. Things that they got it wrong then, are they getting it wrong now? So this time they got it accurate in the first try. And so that's what quiz will do. And student will see that they have improved by how many points here. Another thing student will see on their dashboard is the skills chart of how many exercises they've completed and what are the specific areas that they are practicing more of. So this will probably show the areas that they struggle the most, right? Whatever they struggle most, they'll see more of those exercises. And here they see the number, kind of like the class ranking, right? Leaderboard, where they are compared to the class average. The students are doing, this specific student is doing a lot more. They're doing an outstanding job. They're a lot more, they're above average, class average. Now let's take a look at the teacher's dashboard. What you will see in order to manage your class. Unlike ELT skills, where you log into the student page and see their exercises, you can't do that here with this new secondary AI-based learning. So what you see is analyze data. So let's take a look at each part. When you log in, you'll see list of your classes. And when you click on the class, when you click on each class, then you get a list of the students. Here you have 6 students in this specific class. You can select the date to see how have they done in that week or month. So you can adjust the date, and the data will effectively update to your selection. So when you click on a specific student. So from here, from the list, you click on this arrow in front of student's name. You click it, and it will bring up detailed information for that student. What you'll see here, first of all, is how the duration of how much student has studied. Sorry, let me go back to this, to the previous page. So what you'll see here is a general overall statement of how well student is doing. Not active meaning they're not very active. They need to do 4 times a week for 20 minutes, but they're not meeting that requirement. Here, obviously this purple one meets the requirement, meaning they are following 20 minutes a day. They're following that schedule. The blue one right here below, meaning there's a difference between not active versus below. Not active meaning they probably haven't done maybe once, and they haven't finished all 20 minutes. Below requirement, meaning they are doing it somewhat, but they haven't met that 4 times a week requirement. Now above requirement, meaning that they're doing more than 4 times. Okay, now this is the grade. The grading system will be explained later how they're broken down into, but there is an overall grade of how students doing. So you can look at and identify who is struggling the most in your class. And this action button right here, this is when you enable or disable a student. Enable meaning it's active so student can use. When you disable it, student has quit, they're no longer in your academy. And so you want to suspend, kind of like suspending their account. Okay, now let's click into the student and see their information. You will click here and you will get a detailed information of your student. And here you'll see how much time, the time the student has studied, the session, total session time. So they have done 4 hours and 6 minutes, but still that's not active, meaning they need to have done, let's say, so much time. I don't quite know how much here, but let's look at the detailed information here as far as the grammar part. These are the areas that your students struggling with, Erin specifically. And when you click more, it will expand on the list. And here are the vocabulary words, which they need to know, but they're struggling with. And likewise, the spelling errors that they're having. And these are the language skills to which they have studied. And now grade here, the grade was 90. As you can see, there's detailed grade here. I believe it's 40%, 10%, 10% of something. If you are wanting to know the detailed information, I can get that to you. My colleague Chloe will be able to do that to you. But here, it's how much time student has studied. But you can also see right here, effective time. Let's say student has logged in, but they went to the bathroom or decided to eat and come back. They're already 15 minutes into the 20-minute session. That they won't count that as effective time. In fact, if there's no activity for 10 minutes, it will automatically log out. So the login time was 36, but they have actually studied for 32 minutes. They were actively solving the exercises for 32 minutes. And so you get to see this information and follow up on the kids. Hey, friend, hey, Aaron, I can see you. I can see everything you do online. You know, kind of encourage kids to be more efficient and diligent in doing this. Now the thing is the grammar insight overview. I have shown you earlier about this. Now there may appear more grammar insight. Target language will be listed here. The more student will do, the more insight of the target language you'll get. But in this specific class, students, right, they have very high proficiency in the negotiation, imperatives, future progressive, and conditions, but they're struggling with beavers, adjectives, plural nouns, definite articles, and infinite articles, especially, right? So the bar tells you the accuracy rate. And so if at anything, you should be focusing on these target languages more than the other. Now, please note, this is just a demo page, right? Here, then what you see is the proficiency level in their vocabulary chart. So you get to see where student will see that each individual ones. Here you get to see the class as a whole. So how many words over time, the students are gaining more and more high proficiency in the vocabulary words. Okay, the skills chart. This shows the number of different skill exercise each student are doing. So it will vary depending on each lesson. So you can kind of see a detailed trend in things. It'll help you identify later on which skills that your student is struggling with. Okay, now here's the vocabulary matrix. The light blue means the low proficiency and dark blue means high proficiency. So these are the words they will eventually, as student, they're shown randomly here, but at a one glance, you're able to identify which words that you can try to use more in your classroom. Okay, another thing you see in your teacher's dashboard is the class leaderboard. Just like student will appear, will see about where they are within the class, you get to see the student, the classes as a whole. And so attendance, who's doing the most, who's logging in the most. So you have Aaron, Lila, and Mike, right? Those are the top 3 students. Top 3, and then Olivia and John, 2nd and 3rd place. Now KP stands for knowledge point. Who's who knows the best? Who's every time which students are able to enter in the correct answer? Who has the highest accuracy rate? So that would be Sarah, Tony, Roy, Debbie, and Belle. Now, number of exercise, who's going through it as much as possible. So each of this leaderboard gives you different information. Who's diligent, who's smart, and who's doing it the most, who's fast paced, right? So you can use different information to address the needs of each class. And this class ranking right here in number 8, it lets you know where your class is compared to your entire academy, how they're progressing. And so hopefully that will give you a little sense of competition with your within your class, within your academy. Now, let's take a look at some of the terminologies and authorities that you have. Let's talk about teacher dashboard. Teacher dashboard, class dashboard equals LMS, Learning Management System. School is identified as each Hagwon and academy, and class is obviously class. School administrator is the director or the branch supervisor, a manager of specific account, and teacher is someone who manages a class. Now, school administrator and teachers have access to the teacher's dashboard, meaning school administrator can go into each class dashboard, but teachers can't do that. So they have few different authorities and abilities, which I'll be explaining in a minute. One of the main things is that school administrator is able to look at everyone within the academy, whereas teachers, you can only see the classes that you manage. And in fact, there can be only one teacher per class, and you can't view other classes which you don't manage. The authority of school administrator, they're able to view all data. They can change the settings of each academy, meaning some of the things is they can change the curriculum and the level. They can change the instructions and explanation page. They can also change the number of sessions per week and the duration. Let's say right now we have set 4 times a week, 20 minutes, but they're able to change that to 5 times, whichever you like. But our recommendation is 4 times 20 minutes. They can also create new teachers account. They can add new classes, and they can change the class settings and add new students and manage students account. Now, let's look at a little bit more on this. By the way, teachers, directors, you have the manuals made for you in Korean. And so if you haven't received this, please contact our office. Everything I'm telling you is explained in detailed step-by-step in Korean. So we do have a manual for you. So when you log into our website, this is the school account you see. You select on this wheel, then it will open up school information. So you will automatically belong to BELT. We will already enter school's name for you. So you simply, excuse me. And so you can add a school name in English and Korean, and you click here, nominate new school administrator. And what we will do is it will create this curriculum page. So you want to select. Right, so excuse me, when you nominate new school administrator, what it will do is it will create a magic link. And with that, you send it to we actually will send it to you as a director or manager. And when you receive that link, you will click on it and will take you to the login page right here. And then you will enter in the information of what curriculum you want, what language you would like to see. Right? Now, when you're talking about the language, so here you have the option to select the language. And so instruction language, let me tell you about the difference between instructions and explanation language. So instruction language is right here, right? What they need to do. Do you want that in English or Korean, right? Explanation is after they have submitted their answer, it's the feedback. Do you want that in Korean and English? Our recommendation is that for the A1.1, A2, and A level, A1.1, 1.2, A2 level, we invite you to use Korean instructions as well as explanation. But when you get to the B level, perhaps you can have the explanation page in English or even the instruction as well. So after you change the instruction, the language setting, then you get to the session duration time. We have already entered as a network, we have set as a 20 minutes, but you can change and set to 15 minutes, 12, 25 minutes, however you like to adjust. And then you click on the save setting, change setting, and now your entire academy will be following that setting that you've set. Then as a director, you create, you'll see this plus sign below here where you can click to add teacher. If you click here, it'll lead you to a page to nominate a teacher. So you will add, so right now you don't have anyone in your system. So what you do is click add new teacher. Then what it will do is it will create again a link, magic link. You copy it and you send it to teachers via email. Once they click on that link, this is the registration page for a new teacher. Again, they'll automatically belong to the BELT English Network, and the school name will automatically set. Now they'll enter the teacher's information and the password. They make their own password. And so it is important that teachers enter in the correct email address. Can I just re-emphasize how important this is? We don't have the ability to set the password, reset the password. Only teachers can. Director can send the link. In fact, we just had last week, over the weekend, we had some academy, they entered the wrong email address, but they insist that it was correct. We had to go back to our partner and searched it, and then it was the wrong email address. Please enter in the correct email address so that you can get the correct information. So after you enter the password, confirming the password, you register, click on the register, then it will lead you to this part. Now adding a class. So you've sent the link, you have teacher add themselves. Now you're going to add a class by clicking here, and you're going to select the teacher, Sarah Park, or whoever you're going to assign, name the class name, and you select the curriculum, meaning which full blast book you will do. All right, then after you enter in the information, you do the final language setting. Which language, is it Korean or English? Great, then you'll see the class name listed on the sidebar. Okay. Now, when you click on the class name, then you will show, right now you don't have any students, so you need to add student, right? And so you will then, before you add the student, if you want to make any changes to your setting, class setting, you click on the top wheel. Here you can make the changes to or not. Yeah. Okay, now let's look at some of the functions of teacher. So you're going to have some similar functions and some different different functions that you're able to see from a supervisor. Teachers are able to view the data of the students in the class and the classes that they've been assigned to. There can only be one teacher in charge per class at the moment. This may change in the future. So teacher is able to add students to the class. Supervisor, directors can, but we would like teachers to handle this. And it is also teachers' responsibility to disable the students. And they can also move student to another class, and they can send a link to reset password. And student can do it themselves, but you can also do that as well. And you can change the language setting of each class. So let me show you those things. So let's first take a look at adding new student. By the way, the school administrator, director, managers are also able to do this because they have every access to the teacher's account. Anyway, you select the class, and then when the detailed information for the class opens, there will be always a button up here and saying add student. You click there, then it will take you to the magic link page. You copy the link, you send it to the students via Kakao message email, And then students are led to the new registration page. Again, you have the academy, the network and academy name already set in place so that they will never go to the wrong place. And student will enter in their information and click register. Let me iterate the importance of using the correct email address, because that is the email they will receive when they request for the new password link, right? Okay, so when student all registers to your account, they will see the teachers as well as supervisor will see the student listed enter into that specific class. The magic link is for the Kimchi A2 class. They will not be going to another place unless you as a teacher send the wrong link, right? Okay, and then once student appears in your class, here are some action you need to take. When they're registered, they're not automatically active. It would be disabled. It's automatically disabled. And so you, teacher or director, manager, has to enable or activate their account. And so you do so with this action button here. So let me talk about the action enable, disable. I'm going to say it in English and then I'm going to say in Korean, because this is how we identify the billing status, right? Disable, when students are registered, they're automatically in the disabled state. And so you click on the student action and select enable student. And so then student becomes enabled. And from the moment they're enabled, that's when the billing happens. You can also do it vice versa. Enable student, you can disable it, right? In the same process. Oh, sorry. 이거는 한국말로 잠깐 말씀드릴게요. 학생이 반에 등록이 되면 자동으로 disable 상태로 로그인이 되고요. 등록이 되고요. 학원에서 선생님이 아니면 원장님이나 매니저, 실장님이 이거를 able 상태로 바꾸셔야 해야지 학생이 들어가서 자기 숙제 학습을 할 수 있습니다. 그래서 이 액션 버튼으로 가서 enable 상태로 바꿔주시고, 바꾸는 순간에 과금 기준이 시작이 돼요. 그 과금 기준은 저희가 매뉴얼로 설명해 드렸으니까 궁금하신 점 있으면 사무실로 전화 주시고요. 학생이 그만둔다, 뭐 어떤 이유로 잠깐 disable 하겠다 하시면 똑같은 그 액션 상태에서 액션 창에서 disable로 선택하시면 됩니다. Okay, so you can also remove student or move student to another class. You can also do that from the action button. You can reset students' password. Well, sorry, you can't reset it for the student. You can send a link to reset the password. Yeah, and so that all happens under the action button. Okay. All right. I've gone through quite quickly because you already have the manuals. Something we would like for you to understand and realize is that it's a self-study. Just like ELT skills is self-study, but more importantly, it's more of an online private tutoring, right? The things you do for your students in class, when you look at something, like you look at their worksheet page, hey, Tony, this is who, right? Because is this a person or is this things or animals? Right, it's a person, so it's who. The comments you give to your student, the AI will do that for you. And because you don't have time to, all right, so here's another worksheet to practice on who. You don't have time to do individual worksheet or lessons. The AI will do that for you. Whatever they get it wrong, it will create another exercise to practice that specific target language again till students they're proficient in the usage, right? And so it's literally online private tutoring. Whatever computer is able to teach kids, this is the best you're going to get here at current technology, right? And so, but this AI base can never replace a human teacher. there's something the computers cannot do, right? And so, like I mentioned, whatever computer is able to do, this AI will be able to follow up and do. Okay, and so please, there's no book, there's no work writing exercise. That still happens with ELT skills. You're able to do that with ELT skills and through course book and grammar book. And so please, ELT skills and this AI base has a two different personality. Many academies are using both. Some academies, they're doing ELT as well as the AI base to give the strength and writing exercise. But some, if you choose to do one or another, we invite you to evaluate the needs of your academy and your students, and then focus, choose to use the ones that will help your student the most. The idea is to identify the areas of weakness so that you can maximize the efficiency of your time you have with them. Oh gosh. All right, teachers, it's 11:45. Do you have any questions at the moment?